what's happening too, but I just wanted to touch on a couple of situations. I'm not the type of person to say, nah, I told you so. But I think on my last video or the one before it, I talked about power outages. I'm not a prophet. I'm not no Nostradamus. I'm just a person that puts himself in a scumbag's shoes like Bill Gates. It's a bad place to be in. It's an effed up state of mind. It's an atrocity. But I put myself in those shoes to be able to be that chess piece that they move. What their next move is, I try to call. I know they're gonna turn the power out on us. The power going out in Texas, to me because I don't understand it, but it's irrelevant. It don't make any sense why it would make the power go out in Washington. It don't make any sense. So, in extreme weather, they're gonna take the power out. And for the East Coast, for like Florida, and places that get hot, the West Coast, expect the power to go out. Expect a parroting of what we're seeing in Texas and the 15, 17, or 18 other states. Expect it. Department of Homeland Security done told you, prepare for a 6-month power outage. Prepare. When the enemy's telling you to prepare. FEMA's ready. They got their camps ready. They're ready for you. They're ready for me. I'm ready. Like I said, if the bus if it rolls up, I'll put up a fight, but I'll get on that bus. I'll get my head whacked off for Christ. I'm willing to die for Christ. I won't drag it out like Peter. I won't deny Christ like, was it Peter? Let's see, 3 times he denied Christ.
They died for the wrong person. They died for a person that's wrong anyway. Supposed to be taking a stand because of the Creator. Because you know He's in you. Okay, not because of the bullshit Mr. C.
Won't do that.
Damn devil.
When you already got like MS, you already have a faulty brain, and your brain partially works like mine. Okay, man, just get it on. Back to the point of Homeland Security warning people to prepare for the power to go out. Imagine when it gets hot, when the weather gets extreme, like the weather got in Texas, which they've never seen that before. People's ears are falling off because it's so cold. Pray for these people. They're gonna turn our power out. East Coast power grid is gonna go out somehow by a CME or a EMP or by man. So, well, EMP is by man. But expect it to happen. It's gonna happen. Just get ready, get gas, get water, get food. I said get beans, get rice. I'm weird. I eat the ramen noodles raw, and I store away the little packets that come with it. Stock up on your seasonings. That's all I really got to say about that. It's Calico Free Fighter because I know.
WTV, are you prepared for what Biden and the UN has coming next? And remember, it's all going to come in the guise of, we're just trying to save the climate, we're just trying to, and it's going to be a big crackdown on Lyme that's going to come. That's 1. 2, we've just rejoined the Paris Accord. So what does that mean? Well, the UN is saying they expect the US within months to make a major move, and we're going to talk about that here live today. Thanks for tuning in. What's going on? A lot of people, I talked about this Texas power outage, and I was talking about Oklahoma, and I put out articles helping people find a way to get to other areas that was helping them. But let's get into this. Check this article out. Texas frozen power grid is a preview of climate change disasters to come. Oh yeah, it's all about climate change. Not about how, governments just do things and then say that, hey, we might just take advantage of this crisis. It's not that. It's just climate. That's what they're telling you right here. Now, I want to go into something else that's important that you need to take a check into. Look who's already, I told you what would come after this. This would be the outcry for the climate agenda, and now here it is. This is what the UN chief said just February 18, 2021. I'm in Texas storm. UN chief says it's complete ignorance to say cold weather nullifies the reality of climate change. So now he's gotten up on this because obviously if a big rig is shut down like Texas, then, well, that could be a crisis moment to take advantage of. Well, going down into this report, UN chief excoriated leaders who suggest cold weather means global warming isn't happening, says this is a total lack of scientific knowledge. This is complete ignorance, Antonio Guterres said. So remember how they cracked down on pandemic online? Guess what's coming next? The climate crackdown. And Facebook's already started. Fatal winter storm in Texas has sparked renewed discussion on climate change in the U.S. You see, what did I tell you? I said this was the coming steps that was next. And if people start signing climate emergencies, then you better start looking for the situation where, remember they said, if nations don't pay the reparations or don't follow the climate agenda, it was an article a while back saying UN will go to open, you know what, with any of those nations. Open, WAR. UN Secretary Interior Antonio Guterres on Thursday ripped into climate change deniers, stating that it's complete ignorance. So here we are with them using this moment as the piece to the climate agenda. Now, if you read into this right here, this is what I'm talking about. Something big coming, and Biden and the UN basically has it all planned. I told you they have a climate emergency on his desk. He hasn't signed it yet, but next week I'll be talking about who's signing them because it's about to start happening. World leaders applaud U.S. formal return to Paris Climate Pact. This is why people were in France. Let's make sure my screen is still working good, because last time this happened, it's still working good. Alright, but anyway, last time, this was the whole agenda, which had carbon taxes and everything else involved into it, and you kept seeing all the yellow vests, and they were in the streets because the gas prices were skyrocketing and everything else. Well, here we are, we're back in it, and supposedly this is going to help us. The United States is back in Paris Climate Accord just 107 days after it left, while Friday's return is heavily symbolic. They say Friday's return is heavily symbolic. What is the date? It's February 19th, so they officially, formally have joined it, and they say symbolic. World leaders say, expect America to provide is serious. What's the symbolicness behind it, everybody? Put some in the comment section below. America to prove its seriousness after 4 years of pretty much absent. They are especially anticipating an announcement from the U.S. in coming months on its goal for cutting emissions of heat-trapping gases by 2030. The U.S., so basically in months, they're planning for Biden to come out, and it says the U.S. return to Paris Agreement became official Friday, almost a month after President Joe Biden told the United Nations that America wants back in. A cry for survival comes from the planet itself, Biden said. Yeah, y'all the ones taking it down. In his inauguration address, a cry that can't be more desperate or any more clear now. And that's them using their agenda as well. Will they actually help the climate? Will they actually make change? Because like I said, I've lived around devastated areas when it came to hurricanes and everything else. I've never seen the change come. And so this whole agenda here, I've already read into a lot of it. And it brings the UN in if they sign a climate emergency. But this is something big is coming in the next couple of months. And UN is leaning on the US now because Biden's in, and he's going to do exactly what he's told. Somebody says, so what do y'all think is going to happen here? Do you think Biden is going to sign a declaration for the UN to come in, the UN climate intervention? I mean, that Texas situation, they said it was just moments away from being a major blackout, total grid shutdown. Here's the next combat online. Facebook to expand effort to combat climate misinformation. Label post. It says the social media giant pledged to improve their climate science information center. So let's reload this and see what happens here. So this is the next big move. So it's not just about the pandemic, it's about this too now. So I told y'all, I said the next emergency that would be declared is a climate emergency. All you have to do is go back. I put the video out, over probably 2 months ago? But no, don't tune in to JW TV show. Don't share JW TV show, because obviously we're talking about what's going on. And for people who just watch for like a day or two, they're like, man, nothing you say is happening and nothing is going on. I'm like, you didn't even watch what happens and what follows. People expect stuff to happen like 2 days or 3 days or next week. Sometimes it happens a little bit later. Maybe the timing is off over here sometime. That doesn't mean that I'm totally telling you something wrong. Facebook announced on Thursday they will ramp up its effort to counter misinformation about climate change. In a blog post, the social media giant wrote that they would improve their global climate science information center launched last September, which was developed to connect users with science-based news. So there we are again. We'll have them being the controller of the information, making sure that you can't go to places that says, oh, well, this is not that. This is something else. So I would expect other sites to start doing the same thing, and especially think about it. Pandemic emergency, and then when you put in climate emergency, it's pretty much the same standards. Now you gotta, we gotta outrule you talking about this. We gotta outrule you, preview of what's to come. So it's either, and you see how they're trying to get the federal government in there, they're trying to get FEMA in there, and Texas is actually trying to hold off on the federal government in there, they're trying to get FEMA in there. And Texas is actually trying to hold off and not have that situation, because then you'll be pretty much under their control more than ever. And that's what they're not trying to do at this point. But President Joe Biden's administration said Thursday the full support of the federal government remains extended to Texas, still paralyzed by a winter storm that left millions without power and dangerous conditions. FEMA only sent like 60 generators in the last article I checked too. White House also blamed climate change for Arctic-like temperatures and heavy snow in Texas and other parts of the U.S. and arguing it shows why infrastructure in the U.S. is in need of sweeping upgrades. They were led into a trap. But that's not to say that the people that went in there wasn't led into a trap. They were led into a trap. But thanks for tuning in here live today. We just want to talk about what's going on with the whole agenda and the domestic situation. And it's a couple things that I want to go down the line of. First, we got to talk about Biden asking FEMA for help. And so in the wake of, the situation with the Capitol, which was obviously set up by FBI agents, operatives, all of it was coming out already anyway. And that's not to say that the people that went in there wasn't led into a trap. They were led into a trap. But this awakened a whole new dawn of a new age. And secondly, on the news yesterday, if you didn't hear what they said, they were talking about drone strikes on Americans. And you gotta remember, it's not just about us. They're even weeding out certain troops. So the question is the Shadow Gov activated, or are they weeding out certain troops? So the question is the Shadow Gov activated, or are they going to be activated in troops? So the question is the Shadow Gov activated, or are they going to be activated? And I'm going to go into something TruthFlix put out yesterday that was pretty interesting. And it's called Directive 51. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. Thanks for tuning in, JW TV. Give us a like, thumbs up. We're getting out this hefty load of information. The question is, will you be targeted under this agenda? Let's get into it. February 18, 2021. Biden administration is leaning on FEMA agencies to help state and local authorities combat, extremism in the U.S. The new guidance directed by Homeland Security was announced by FEMA to state and local officials in a briefing last week, an administration official said. Agency often associated with storm and emergency relief efforts plans to increase funding for states and cities to focus on the pursuit of DE, which is obviously domestic extremist groups, doubling down on the agency's efforts to combat that extremism, a FEMA source told CNN. And it says the Trump White House general lack of interest in addressing the problem of right-wing extremism, which they give you this paradigm already. They give you a paradigm that it's not left-wing extremism. It's not just Basically, they're not saying that let's just come after the problem. Instead, they're picking a side to come after. It says has forced the Biden administration to essentially start from scratch as it conducts a variety of threat assessments. Officials acknowledge they must first understand the scope of the problem before they can begin to counter it. So, in the town hall with CNN Tuesday night, President Biden said domestic terror is the greatest threat in the U.S. And so again, this is what they're planning to do. They want FEMA to do that. FEMA is a separate branch of Department of Homeland Security. If you look on all the movies and stuff like that, and if you look at Colony, that's the agency they actually use to do the domestic war, roundup on the so-called insurgents. Now check this out. This was on the news yesterday, everybody. And what do you think? Do you think this is going to be an honest roundup of the people who's been out, crashing stuff and doing the most violent stuff, and then all those groups who, like just Antifa, anybody who's doing anything to radicalize and won't let people live in peace, won't let people just simply go to the store attacking people and just doing random stuff. Will they actually do that? No, because the agenda always leads up to a bigger peace and perspective. But in your words, what do you think is going to happen? I want to see in the comment section below. Here's another thing. So they're pretty much incitement of violence by inciting violence themselves. This is MSNBC. Nicole Wallace suggests that we use domestic drone strikes on Americans as a solution to lock down protesters. Drone strikes on Americans as a solution to lock down protesters. Domestic drone strikes on Americans as a solution to lock down protesters. Use domestic drone strikes on Americans as a solution to lock down protesters. This was let's go ahead and play this clip. This is on the news here, where they're now openly just discussing this. So let's go into this report, and then I'm gonna talk about Directive 51 at the end of this live stream. So I'm gonna let you hear this now.
Create your future as a music producer. Immerse yourself in mixing, mastering, and production to get your degree online from the Los Angeles Recording School, a division of the LA Film School. Follow in the path of our award-winning alumni and let your creativity run wild.
And that is a bulletin released to all law enforcement earlier this week that there is, until the end of April, a persistent threat of domestic extremism, domestic terrorism carried out in the ideology and around this belief that the election was fraudulent, and around this belief that the election was fraudulent, ideology, and around this belief that the election was fraudulent, that the COVID restrictions are unnecessary. All of those ideologies pushed by Donald Trump, but my question for you is around incitement. We had a policy, and it was very controversial, carried out under the Bush years and under the Obama years, attacking terrorism at its root, of going after and killing, and in the case of Omar al-Awlaki, an American, a Yemeni American, with a drone strike for the crime of inciting violence, inciting terrorism. Mitch McConnell was in the Senate then. He was in the Senate after 9/11 too. How does Mitch McConnell, who understands that the way you root out terrorism is to take on, in the case of Islamic terrorism, kill those who incite it, how does he not vote to convict someone that he said on the floor of the Senate incited an insurrection?
So there they are right there, telling you everything you want to know. They want drone strikes. That's what they want. We're not talking about battling, with just words anymore. We're not talking about battling with just coming down and just having agreements and saying certain things should be restricted or taken somewhere. We're talking about drone strikes now. This is what they're talking about. And I just wanted to show you that clip quickly here as they go through the situation. Now I want to come out of this screen here and then take you to the next piece of information. That's them on the news saying that. That was February 5th, actually, not yesterday. So, what do you think about that, everybody? I mean, do you really take all that's basically being said as an honest way to weed out stuff? And it's a larger crackdown. Even like law groups and stuff like that. Even ACLU said it. Like, this could be a larger crackdown that we don't need. And so now you notice that the military is getting purged as well. They've been getting purged for the longest now here. And obviously it's just going to be that one-sided. They want the one-sided, communist troops to just come out, just, obey, follow orders. That's what they want pretty much here in my. And it says, Washington Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has ordered hundreds of Pentagon Advisory Board members to resign this month as a part of board reviews of panels, essentially purging several dozens who were appointed last minute under the Trump administration. During the last 2 months of the tenure, former acting Defense Secretary Christopher Miller removed a number of longtime members from several defense policy, health, science, business boards, replaced many with loyalists of former President Donald Trump. More than 30 of those replacements will now be forced to resign, including former GOP House Speaker, retired Brigadier General Anthony Tyler, former Trump campaign manager. This is literally the whole shifting of everything right there. So I just wanted to put that out. They're talking about drone striking people now, saying like, oh, well, that's not a way to, we need to weed out, the terrorism, and then somehow we need to strike you. That's inciting violence. So I don't think that should be the answer. I don't think that should be promoted widely on the news. I was simply showing the clip because I'm surprised that they even have it up with all the restrictions in place, but they get to say all of that, because, basically, oh, well, look what happened at the Capitol. Look what happened. And what happened? Well, it was cops leading people into the building. It was operatives there. Part of the operation. It all came out. And it was the biggest setup in U.S. history. Now Directive 51, everybody. Continuity of government. This is on WhiteHouseGov1.info. Continuity plan. Now, let's go into this. Since the days of the Cold War, the United States has a plan in place to continue the operation of government following catastrophic attack on the nation's capital, which was now just happened, right? They set that up. National Security President Directive 51 directs a geographic dispersion of leadership, staff, and infrastructure in order to maintain functions of the United States government in the event of nation capital decapitated by you know what, right there. So they're saying that this already happened, and that's what they've been saying. So very deep within 102 continuity plan is a strategy for mass evacuation and relocation of every federal government agency, including the White House and military, in response to an exceptional catastrophic event within National Capital Region. Each agency is required to have detailed continuity of operations in place. COOP. Shadow government. Following catastrophic national emergency, the president or his successor can authorize the establishment of a temporary shadow government. So, a temporary shadow government. To maintain control of the essential functions of federal government, President Bush activated the shadow government September 11, 2001, shortly after the second attack on the World Trade Center. Every federal agency has designated key individuals to be part of an emergency relocation group. These ERGs are assisted to alternative secure location on a rotating basis and are ready to take over the duty of supporting the national essential functions of this nation in emergency. So we just outlined a couple things, and I got more to talk about. We outlined one, attack on nation's capital. That's happened. Relocation of troops. They're at the Capitol right now, sitting there. They're getting purged. And so going down into this one, the continuity of government readiness condition systems. And I'm gonna ask a question: do you believe the shadow government is activated, or do you believe that this is just some crap that I'm bringing up? Based on what's going on, it looks like that's what they're doing. The continuity of government readiness condition system establishes executive branch readiness levels based on possible threats. The nation capital region, the president alone determines and issues the CON level. So it says, number 4, federal executive branch government employees at their normal work locations maintain alternate facility and conduct periodic continuity readiness exercises. 3, federal agencies and department advanced relocation teams warm up their alternative site and capabilities. We've seen lots of sites set up, and they set that up under the guise of the vax, but it could be used for something else. The alternative sites capabilities, which includes testing, communication, IT system, ensure alternate facilities are prepared to receive continuity staff. Track agency leaders and successors daily. 2, 2. Deployment of 50 to 75% of emergency relocation group continuity staff to alternate locations. Establish their ability prepared to perform their organization's essential functions in the event of catastrophe emergency. Number 1. Full deployment of designated leadership and continuity staffs to perform the organization's essential functions from alternate facilities, either as a result or in preparation for a catastrophic emergency. So the troops just been relocated. They're at the Capitol. They're still there. And so I'm not going to read all this to you, but I'm going to leave down the rest of this information where you can look at it. The question is, you got to ask, is the shadow government activated? Because they literally say that's what can happen in this event. So thanks for tuning in. Get this video out. It needs to be spread far and wide. People need to know what are the possibilities and what is the potential operation plan that is in place. And I'm just reporting on stuff right here from the White House Gov and everything. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's a live report. Keep God with you, stay spiritual, and get this report out to everybody you know.